coming to you live from San Francisco. Maybe an hour late, but we're never late.
We're an hour earlier for tomorrow's show.
There you go. It's
right.
Ralph, Zig, Tycho, and Zig in the Zone.
Hey, Pauly, thank you for hanging in there with us. We have technical difficulties.
We just have difficulties.
Well, this is due to the hurricane in Florida. Okay. And I'm guessing that Jack is hanging in there with us, Mr. Jack DrGraw. We're going to talk a little Yankee baseball, so hang in for a few minutes while we catch up, Pauly and I. How are things going?
Just being in the studio where I'm running around like a chicken without a head.
Well, it's
but that's a good thing. We're in the studio. It's good that we're in the studio and we're alive and kicking.
We're alive. That's the key word. We're alive and kicking because we're all day to day. And not to make light of all of that, we have 3 individuals from the Comfortably Zone Network that are really struggling health-wise. They've all been guests on this Zig in the Zone.
And they're on the DL. They're on the
DL. George Grimm is having valve surgery probably as we speak. It could be as late as tomorrow. He's hospitalized. Jerry Feidelberg has gone through living hell for the past few months. It's a urological problem and could be a heart problem at this point, but it's all he can do to hang in there. We are wishing the 2 of them our best. And, of course, Marty Rose, who is suffering from ALS and struggling, has to go back to the hospital because of the hurricane and the equipment and what have you. This has been a horrible couple of months for the Comfortably Zone Network. And me personally, we're talking about 3 of my closest friends in the world going through hell. And Pauly and I have talked about this before. Every day when I check into my email, I do it with a great deal of trepidation.
Oh, yeah.
What's going to happen today?
And yeah, I'm afraid to turn on social media and find out who's passed or someone's sick or got cancer or, it's just like,
right.
So I guess we have to be fortunate. We should count our lucky stars, if you will.
I know. And Louis Tiant, who is an iconic baseball character through the years. I got to meet him once on my Tops trip, and was a gentleman and pitched for the Yankees a little bit. Maybe we can bring in Jack and he can tell us about the Wiener story. Jack?
All right, so joining us from Florida, Jack DrGraw is coming back with us. How you doing, Jack?
Good. How are you, Paul? How are you, Ralph?
We're hanging in there.
So let's lighten the mood a little bit. I was telling you guys prior to air when we were bouncing back and forth, I wanted to tell you one of my favorite little riddles jokes, and it's a one-liner. And you started it off so gloom. I was like, oh, doom and gloom. But we gotta wish our buddies.
We got to go with our emotions sometimes.
No, we got to wish our buddies well. Yeah. So we got to make sure. But here's a little bit of humor to kind of lighten things up a little bit.
Well appreciated. Thank you.
There we go. Okay, so what do you do with an elephant with 3 balls?
I don't know. I've never been asked before.
You should know. Jack, do you know?
No.
You walk them and you pitch to the rhino. So Where were your guys' head at? I'm sorry. What were you
That's-
thinking?
That is very good.
That's one of my favorites.
Demonstrating some baseball knowledge, Pauly. Great. I like that one. Yes, I do.
Oh, that was a
Yeah.
thinker. You almost scratched your beard on that one. That was kind of cool.
That was a good one.
And I even heard a little caca out of Jack over there. So how are you doing, man? How's Florida?
Well, we're getting hit with a hurricane, I guess, tomorrow. But if you want to lighten the mood, Paul, that story reminds me, you don't mind me telling it,
No.
of a story. Ralph remembers Jim Coates, and I'm sure you do too, a Yankee pitcher.
A nasty guy.
Right.
And he was, on the scoreboard at the stadium, they said, "Congratulations, Jim Coates." He used to walk a lot of guys. "Jim Coates, you're now the father of a baby girl." And one of the announcers said, "Thank God it wasn't a boy. He would have been born with four balls."
I like that very much.
Would have made him walk right out.
Jack, excuse me. Would you tell the story of when Louis Tiant was with the Yankees and he had a commercial?
Well, it was a commercial, but they also had a little ad in the Yankee program. And Louis was sitting there in his Yankee uniform, and he was eating maybe it was a Hebrew National Yankee hot dog. And the ad said, "It's great to play with a wiener."
And they
because
let that go. They let that
English.
go by the censors and what have you.
Yeah.
Hey, let's talk about your.
And it was a kosher wiener, by the way.
Well, the best kind to eat. No pun intended.
There you go.
Jack, what's going on with the Yankees? They're in the playoffs and they lost yesterday.
Well, it seems to be the same old story. They're 3 for 19 with runners in scoring position, so that's not anything unusual what they've been doing in the playoffs. And it's hard to say. I know that a lot of the fans are down on Judge, but now it's a 2 out of 3 series, and you got Cole going one of the games, and it's all a coin flip now. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it sounds like my Mets. They lost the second game as well, and the playoffs have always been kind of a big guessing game, and they all should be best of 7 series if we ideally to get it right. Can't be done, but wish it were. My good friend on Facebook and in real life, Ann Atkinson Fusco, was at that game last night. And I wish I could get her on. I've tried to get her on here to tell us her experience of coming down from northern New Jersey, right near the Pocono Mountains, where I used to go to camp. She drove down, and her and her family had the best of possible times given the Yankees' loss. Let's face it, it's not whether you win or lose at this point. Just being there is good. Did you expect the Yankees to make the playoffs, Jack?
I thought going into spring training, Ralph, it was basically 50-50. After what they come off last year, they got a lot of older players and they had a lot of injuries, but they got off to a great start. They were 49-21. But you look at it over the last 92 games, they were under 500. I mean, really, for the last 5 years, they've been a hot and cold team. They either play great baseball or under mediocre baseball. So it's all a crapshoot now. And one of the things I was thinking about, because this is what I think about. All the series the Yankees were in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. Could you just imagine if they had a playoff system then, when the Yankees have to play Cleveland, Detroit, or Chicago just to get in the World Series? It might have been a whole different story.
Well, that's why the changes in the game, although it includes many, many more fans in the process, it bastardizes the system. We both remember when there were 8 teams in the league and you made the World Series, you won the pennant or didn't. And those were the days. Let me ask you, as a kind of an outsider looking in, but I am a Yankee apologist at this point in my life, and I'm rooting hard for a number of reasons for a Subway Series. First of all, the Mets would be in the World Series, and the Yankees would be, but my friends would be enjoying it. And that's how I've gotten in my rooting this year. At this point in my life, what makes my friends happy? My loyal friends to whatever team they're loyal to, they should be rewarded. And Ann is one of those who I would like to see have the Subway Series. She's a New Yorker. I'm a native New Yorker. And Jack, you are too. Let me ask you off the subject, what brought you to Florida initially?
Well, the thing is, I'm from northern New Jersey, Ralph, and I've always been a Yankee fan. And one of the reasons I came to Florida is because I wanted to see the Yankees in spring training, and I wanted to be by the minor league complex and just take it all in. And when I first come down here, I lived right across the street from the Yankee minor league complex at Himes. And I remember mid-January, you'd see Jeter over there and Tino and Posada. And the nice thing is you could just walk right over there and watch them practice. And one of the great things is I got friendly with a lot of the minor league players and a couple of the major league players. So it was just a fantastic experience. Spring training and the minor league Tampa Yankee games were just incredible. I had a wonderful time.
What was the biggest adjustment for you living in the Northeast, living in Florida now?
The thing was, the people are just a lot different, and but I was so happy to get down here at the time. It was just great. I could go to the gym, and a lot of pro athletes were there, and I could go walk down and see the Bucks play for $20, and I can go to the hockey Lightning games for $10. So the first 7 or 8 years here was actually incredible. And the summers have gotten a lot worse down here. It's gotten a lot hotter, but I was just so happy to be here. I didn't notice the bad. Now, over the last 10 years, I've gotten kind of sick of Florida, but, I never regret coming down here. But I do miss my house in Netcon, New Jersey.
Where would you go if it weren't New Jersey or Florida?
Well, there was a friend and me were talking. We were going to go to North Carolina because there's a lot of colleges up there, and there's a lot of college basketball and baseball, and they got a minor league team. But with the hurricane from last week, a lot of devastation, a lot of things have been, wiped out and maybe never the same again. And this storm coming up might be the same.
Yeah. I've never been to South Carolina, but I've heard really good things about it. Have you explored the possibility?
Yeah, we were. One of the things I thought of North and South Carolina, because Whereas I don't like winters, with the snow and a lot of the snow, but it would be nice to have 4 seasons, and maybe sometime in January you get a couple inches of snow. I mean, that would be kind of cool.
It would be nice to be able to, for any of us, to be bi-coastal or bi-city and just follow the sun, if you will.
I just read something today in the newspaper that 60% of San Francisco's are bi.
Pardon me?
But I don't know if it was bi-coastal. Okay, you're following me.
I'm following you right from the start.
All right, good.
I thought you were looking at me.
Loving our senior years. I love it.
I could be bi, but nobody asked me.
I could be bi, but it's not enough.
Right.
I need more money, more benefits,
more everything. Whatever we could get to make us happy. And that reminds me, I gotta say it week after week. If it ain't fun, it shouldn't be getting done. So whatever you do, make it fun, because I'm looking back, I'm 77. The things that money, accumulation of money and all that, it's fun memories that keep me alive now.
Right. It's not the money or the power or whatever.
But on the other hand, you got to manage it where I'm speaking to myself,
right?
Where you have more money coming in every month than you're spending. And because habitually through life, I've been borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, running to the bank and stressing over that. I've solved that by just living down and keeping my expenses low. And at this point, I'm going to knock on Formica. I have slightly more bucks coming in than going out. And that reduces the stress level 100%. So just an editorial comment from an old guy trying to warn young people how to go through life.
It's almost a PSA from Zig.
Yes. And you can't get much because I don't really have much to say other than my 2 cents.
Well, it's funny because some people feel like maybe they didn't have a childhood, and so later in years they kind of retort back to all the crazy things. Or even when guys go through their midlife crisis, they buy a fast car, they get a younger woman, they take unnecessary risks.
Wait, I'm taking notes to make
my life. Slow down.
Slow down. Just to make my life a joy. Fast car.
Fast car. Well, yeah.
How about a fast woman and a slow car?
Yeah, that's probably more both of our speeds.
Right.
So, but I mean, okay, so yeah, definitely live life to the fullest. When you're younger, you should kind of live with a little bit of no fear. Yeah. Because that's the time, right? That's the time. Like I always wanted to skydive at least once, but now I'm at the point there's no way I would skydive. The only way I'm skydiving is in my urn. That's the only way I'm skydiving. and hopefully it's over an ex's house or something.
It might coincide, as a matter of fact, if the skydiving goes wrong.
That's it.
But Jack, what would you tell the young you?
Well, the thing is, Ralph, I've always lived simply, but I can honestly say I had a hell of a good time. If I was going to change anything, I just wish I would have taken advantage of my sports talents, because, I probably could have, been involved in sports my whole life and, as a work thing. But I mean, I always had a lot of fun, Ralph, because, we got to remember, like when we were younger, even though you're a few years older than me, everything was affordable. I mean, you could go to ball games.
I'm a few years older than everybody, it seems.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But it was nice. you could go to ball games for 50 cents or $3. And one of the things about me, I've always been able to do it my whole life. You always know how to work the angles.
Yeah.
You know, I remember going to like the U.S. Open tennis thing, and it was like, you know, they'd let you in 6:45. And after they played the first match in the stadium, you could go for free. So we, you know, my friends and we did that numerous times. You always you always know how to work the angles and stuff.
Speaking of the U.S. Open, were you fortunate enough to be old enough, believe it or not, the two can coincide, if you're old and you have great memories. Do you remember when the U.S. Open was played in Forest Hills?
I never went to the U.S. Open in Forest Hills, but I did go to the U.S. I did see tennis in Forest Hills. This was roughly 89, 90. It was one of the last years that it was played there. It was an incredible venue, and I seen the stadium, and I seen Lendl play, and Pete Sampras, and Agassi, and John McEnroe, and it was just, you know, they had the cobblestone streets. It was just a beautiful facility.
And they had the grass courts that you could walk around and watch every match being played. It was just a joy, and people wore whites to be spectators. It was a different time, and I can remember seeing players and making eye contact with them, carrying their own bags of rackets, coming into the stadium, and all athletes were friendlier in those days and could relate to the fans. And I miss those days of fandom where you'd have contact, ever so small sometimes, but make personal contact with the players. You don't have that anymore. Players don't sign our autographs. They don't live where you live. They live.
Yeah.
It's just a different world, and this is all part of the change that I regret that it's gotten to this point. Not just tennis.
Well,
you know.
Let me share a story, Ralph. I went to the U.S. Open from 1982 through 2004. I've probably seen 60, 70, times I went there. But one time I was walking around on an outdoor court, and I sat down, and Kathy Rinaldi was playing. And the funny thing is, about 30 years later, I seen her son play baseball for USF. And who was sitting maybe 15 feet away from me was Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, wow.
And Wilt was in the third row. They were just regular stands, and he was sitting in the third row, and his legs were like, right on the ground there. So it was, I seen him there a few times. It was, Wilt was something else. I mean,
Wilt was literally the greatest athlete in the world. There's just no question about it. He would dominate today. Unbelievable athlete. A high jump, a broad jump, a volleyball player. And volleyball, you're an athlete. Volleyball takes a lot of skill, and Will dominated in that. And another guy died too early. It's
yeah. Another guy, Ralph.
Wasn't it Wilt Chamberlain that was like quoted in his book or in his memoirs or whatever that he had sex with like 10,000 women? 20,000.
Yeah, and you can't blame a guy for exaggerating when it's just a little exaggeration, because Wilt attracted women like flies on shit.
There you go.
No question about that. And he did have a crazy ego when it came to that. But I remember reading that book about, it was in a blue cover years ago. Wilt's autobiography. I don't know who wrote it, but he had his name on it.
Just to let you guys know, we've been showing you pictures of Forest Hills back in the day.
Yeah.
So every once in a while, I'm popping in pictures from Forest Hills like that. That's a newer one. But
hey, let's talk about your athletic skills and your record that's on YouTube. Your free throw or long or 3-point record, which to me amazes me. How many did you make in a row at one time?
The foul shots was 628, and the 3-pointers were 154. And another thing, Ralph, this is kind of funny. It's a cool thing. I mean, I just enjoy it. A friend sent me something. They had this Caitlin Clark thing, and she had 100 foul shots, 100 free throws, 100 3-pointers. And she made 233. So the other day I did it, and I made 275. But I have to say the 3-point shot was the high school 3-pointer. It wasn't the college 3-pointer. So it wasn't the same thing.
Oh, okay. Well, then no big thing, right? No,
That's
it was
right.
a big thing. It was unbelievable. 600 free throws, some odd free throws straight.
Yeah, and the thing is, Ralph, I might have done more, but they were getting ready to play volleyball. So for the last 20 minutes, I had about 15 volleyball players giving me dirty looks, but I'm used to that, so that don't bother me.
That's all right. That's all right. Wow. What would be a tip for not just guys setting the record, for players on the I know Rick Barry was famous for teaching free throws in an unconventional way. How would you tell kids to shoot, or how to concentrate? What would you tell if you were coaching a kid?
Well, the thing nowadays, Ralph, I mean, when kids watch sports, they try to emulate, what they do on TV. And I think the thing now with basketball, and I've noticed when I watch young kids play, like young boys, they go to the 3-point line, and the girls will go to where they think they can make a shot. And what happens is, with all these kids going out to the 3-point line, I would tell kids, start around the rim. Start around 5 feet and just work away. Work around, go 5 feet and keep track of it. If you can't make a shot from 2 or 3 feet, you're not going to be able to make it from 25 feet. But I think the way it is now, everybody wants instant gratification. They don't want to work at something. They just already think they're good. And, it takes a lot of work to be good at anything, whatever you do.
Would you say staying within yourself is a good way of describing what you're saying?
Yes. And, the ability to concentrate.
Okay. What's next for you athletically? How do you keep the motor running? Do you jog? Do you just go out and see how many you could make? Like you said, you're how old? 55?
68.
Whoa.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Ralph, I'll ride the bike every day. I'll shoot baskets. I throw the baseball. I hit off a batting tee and, hit the tennis ball against the wall. I think the thing is, I don't do it for exercise. That's what I like to do. That's what I enjoy doing. That's what's fun.
Right.
That's just what I enjoy doing.
Do you pick up on anything at this late age? And when you say, whoa, I wish I would have been doing that years ago. Anything that recently you say you came to terms with the fact that you could have done better if only?
Well, I think the thing is, Ralph, when you're younger, you have to have, a mentor or a father or somebody step in and just tell a person. I mean, I'm telling kids this now. To be an athlete or anything, the important thing is to try to get to college. If you're good enough to be bad, if you're even in college and you're playing, you're still better than 95% of the people who are playing.
And you're getting an education to go with it.
That's right. And once you're in, and you'll have connections, and somebody will help you out. Maybe you can go into coaching, or things like that, or you can get working as a statistician or announcer or something. You got your foot in the door, and that's the important thing. Is just get your foot in the door, and it's like you're good enough to be there. It doesn't mean you're going to be a great star, but you're good enough to be there.
Right. And to do what really makes you happy. It isn't work if you'd rather be doing it than playing. And combining your passion with your work, like I'm doing with podcasting, and I did with comedy, and I did with taking naps. It makes it much more much easier to get up in the morning to do what you love to do.
Yes. And when you do what you love to do, you just keep working at it. I remember I heard the comedian George Burns says, nowadays, and this was going back 40 years, he said, you need a place to be bad. And just keep working at it.
Right.
It's also, by the way, I lost my line. It's also easier to get up in the morning when you love who you wake up next to in the morning.
Even if you're waking up with yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes, especially if you're waking up with yourself, it's much easier to love. But that's coming from a guy who wakes up alone a lot historically through life. But on the other hand, it's about 50-50 the way I've gone through life. And sometimes you get pleasure out of yourself. And I wasn't being nasty there. I was just saying, enjoying one's own own company.
One's own time. Yes.
Yes.
Own company.
And doing precisely what you want to do when you want to do it is nice.
Oh, it's nice to be able not to have to clear things.
Yes. And at other times, you want to clear things with someone and you hunger for that.
Right. But then there's sometimes you just want
just a little peace and quiet. Shut the fuck up.
Either quiet or so there's a lot to be said for compromise, right? Because I think that's a big part of my relationship with my significant other, my wife, is compromise. Because there's a lot of times where it's from the silliest example. I made chili last weekend.
Do you want to lie down on the couch?
I should. I feel like then I'm going to have to pay you $30 copay. No, I'm not going to do that.
You can owe me.
That's right.
Put it on your tab.
It's time from Zig In The Zone's On the Couch Confessions.
Yes. Well, God bless you, my son.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll smoke one Hail Mary.
And Hail Mary full of grace. Keep my ass in first place.
That's all I'm saying. And so, okay, so compromise. That's where I was. I find myself compromising a lot. And if I was by myself, there would be no compromise. And so
there would be no lovely significant other.
But that's true. So is it a trade-off? So like from the simplest of things. I think I was just mentioning that I made chili last weekend. And when I make chili, I want to make it really hot. I want to put a lot of peppers in it. I like chunks of tomatoes. There's a lot of things I would be throwing in it, but then I have to start considering, oh, this person in the house doesn't like this. This person in the house doesn't like that. And it's different people. So all of a sudden I wind up with some really, I might as well opened up a can of Hormel and put it in the pot because it was, like I said, oh, it's like, oh, I want 5 different types of beans. Oh, but I don't like those kind of beans.
Could you make a few batches?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. So, but that's the problem is you do. So even, okay, I'm staying on the food topic and compromise. So even just eating or watching TV or the simplest of things, even just watching would you like to watch a movie? Sure, it's Friday night. We're home. Let's watch a movie. Great. What would you like to watch? I would really like to watch this. Oh, yeah, no, that doesn't really interest me. And so it's trying to find things. I listen to my parents talk, and they're 80 and 83 respectively. And it's like, I listen to my parents talk, and they can't find any common ground. Like, they can't ever really find any TV show that they can watch together. He's either watching baseball or he's watching violent like war movies or whatever. My mom's like, I'd rather watch a comedy. I'd rather watch whatever. And so I think there's some peace of mind when you're by yourself and you can make decisions that are based only on your preferences. But then you have to live in society. And so there's times where you have to compromise that there's certain formalities that we have to all live by. And it's funny because the longer I'm in a relationship, this relationship I'm going to be in for the rest of my life. But when you get re-released into the wild,
so to speak,
it's true.
Yeah.
So I hear these comedians, these 20 and 30 somethings, and they can talk about pot or they can talk about dating. Let me see if I can really focus on one thing. I'm getting all over the place. So even when these comedians on stage start talking about dating, they go, oh, we have this app and we grab our phone and we swipe this way or we swipe that way. And 10 minutes later, I'm getting laid. And it's like, really? And they're like, yeah. They're like, there's totally people that are DTF, which is down to fuck. And it's like, oh. And on the gay apps, it's even better. Like so there's Tinder, which is for heterosexuals, and then there's Grindr, which is primarily for homosexuals. And so with Grindr, so with Tinder, you can look up people in proximity and they go, hey, there's 4 naughty housewives in the next mile and a half within my distance that want to hook up with me. And let me just send them a message and see if they're ready. Grindr.
Excuse me. That's what society is like now. I've been out of commission for
that's what
40 years.
And then Grindr is even funnier. You can get on the app and it will say there's 3 people within 25 feet of you. Like if you're in a Starbucks in San Francisco, there's there's 3 people in the Starbucks that are down to fuck if they want to fuck.
Holy shit.
And so I'm like, well, the last time I was on a dating app, I had to make a VHS tape, bring it into a place,
right?
Watch 6 other VHS videotapes, come back a month later, they had a couple more for me to look at.
And by that time, they're married with kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything's like that. Everything is it's weird because we live in a Me Too movement. Here, I think it's great that every person has a voice, especially victims. And so we went through the Me Too movement with all the women getting harassed and stuff like that, and coming out and really speaking out against that stuff. But then on the other hand, you can swipe one way and get laid.
But when we were younger, didn't we love spontaneity? Didn't we hunger for spontaneity?
Nowadays some of my behavior would have got me canceled or would have
Right.
got me in trouble.
Shot by a husband.
Or okay, so all three of us can remember school dances. Don't you remember a school dance?
Absolutely. I wasn't
And
ever invited.
There was the wallflowers. They had the
Mhm.
women, girls that were sitting up. You would have to go over. You're standing with your boys, and you got to go over and go, "Hi, would you like to dance, Mary Lou?"
At camps, we call them socials.
Oh, there you
And
go, the socials.
You're absolutely right. There were people that wouldn't relate, weren't mature enough to relate, had too many fears, had too many bad experiences at an early age that you could see how it could affect
Going
them
out
for
to
a
the
lifetime.
bars, going out to bars and picking up. We used to say, "Oh," or we'd go on the cruise. There would be the cruise. You go in your car and you
Right, in
cruise
the
up and
car.
down the drag.
K Street in Alameda in Sacramento when I was 20.
El Camino here in the Bay Area. So
Right.
all these behaviors wouldn't happen today. So like going up and down the strip, yelling out windows, "Hey baby,"
Right.
jump in my car and all this stuff, and that wouldn't work today.
No.
Let me see here. Asking a girl out, even at the end of a date, at the first date. What was always at the end of the first date? Were you going to be able to kiss the girl? You're going to walk her up to her doorstep, and you're going to go, "Good night, Mary Lou," and you're going to give her a little peck on the cheek or kiss on the lips or whatever the deal is.
You sound like Don Knotts.
But if you were to do that now, you would get almost arrested. He tried to grope me.
Right.
He tried to physically assault me. No, I just tried to get laid.
You gotta have a safe word nowadays. And
mine is, I've got a lawyer. I retain a lawyer.
My advice is don't make your safe word harder.
Yeah.
Choose another word.
Choose another word.
People need advice all the time.
So if you were going to release me into the wild nowadays, it just wouldn't be good for society or me.
No.
So I'm glad that I've been in captivity. I've been being fed my compromising steaks through a grate.
Well, you're lucky enough to have a wonderful giving relationship.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Both of you.
Oh yeah, no, we're definitely happy, and it took 3 years to be that way, but yeah.
Have you been together that long?
Mm-hmm.
22 years.
23 now, because we're in 2024. I remember watching the buildings come down. When I was first dating her, she was staying at my place, and so that was in 2001.
My God.
And so, yeah, and it took me 20-something years to propose. Wow. We've only been married for 2.5 years.
Really?
Wow.
I
3 years
thought you
December.
were married about the time I knew you back then, which was about 12 years ago, 13 years
No,
ago.
we were pretty much married. I mean, we were, what do you want to call it? Almost common law marriage kind of thing. We were married. I was married to my wife 3 years in. 2 or 3 years in, I kind of knew she was absolutely the one. But there was a whole bunch of house cleaning stuff I had to do. I had to get divorced from the first one. So that took 5 years. And actually probably wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for my wife now, because I was just procrastinating, and I was not in a rush to get married. Therefore, I wasn't in a rush to finalize the paperwork. It's not like I ever thought I was going to go back to the woman. I just knew that I wasn't going to get married again anytime soon. So it was a placeholder.
Gotcha. Jack, give me an experience that you've had, a dating experience that you can relate to what we're talking about, if you would.
Well, the thing is, Ralph, I'm just going to go. I think it's great now that women play sports, because now if you love sports like I do and we do, you have something in common.
Right.
So you don't have to, ask a woman out to a bar or try to pick her out. You can say, hey, you want to go to a baseball game, or you want to go play tennis, or you want to throw the football around, or play basketball and stuff. So that's what I think is great now, that, you have something in common, and it's easier to talk, and stuff.
Second date with Christine, it was to a Giants game. The first date was to the San Francisco Jazz Fest. So I agree.
Beautiful. It leads to more equality too. What you're talking about, Jack, is that you look at the women, if they're either athletic or have something in common, you look at them with a little more respect. They're not just some bimbo that cleans the house.
Yes.
Or they could be a bimbo that cleans the house. If you have an open Thursday, that would be great. But you know what I mean. And anyway,
And the thing is, Ralph, if you want to go out and play tennis or play basketball, who gives a shit about the house? You just want somebody to play ball with,
That's exactly right. Where to from, I'm going to ask both of you, where do you think society is going from in the future? Along these lines, because I learned something today, that they have an app that will tell you that it's gotten to the point that people make a decision to get laid before they know anybody.
Right.
And that's wasn't happening when I was a kid. But I had to go through the ritual of asking the father for permission to date the daughter, as an example.
Right.
And then there was the AIDS scare,
right,
which turned off a lot of promiscuity, and it really fucked up sexuality.
Well, yeah, what 70s was all about free love until, the 80s and AIDS put a big old screeching halt on free love.
I remember to this day, I had a community of folks in San Francisco that really enjoyed partying and were together, and it's kind of free. And one day I'm seeing a woman in this community, and she's got a badge on. We will wear a condom. It was that moment when I realized things are changing, that people are more concerned about staying alive than they are a momentary pleasure. And I think that's what people wearing condoms and looking after safe sex, it turned around the AIDS epidemic.
Well, yeah, and nowadays we're kind of back to where we were in the 70s, if you're aware. So not only do they have apps that you can find somebody to get laid, but that same app also has your health records and the last time you were tested. And so when you hook up with somebody, you can go, "Hey, are you clean? Yeah, here's my test results from last week." Bink, and you touch the person's phone, and they'll get a copy of it.
Holy shit!
And nice. So that's kind of nice
technology. Or in Jack's case, can you shoot a jump shot? Show me a film of you, Sue. Jack.
Well, that's one of the things now that's good, Ralph. I mean, there's a lot of bad things, but now it's like anything you want, you can get. Like if I want to do basketball videos, I can do it. If I want to do tennis videos, I can do it. I can do a baseball video if I knew what the hell I was doing. But if I did, I could still do it.
Right.
And but like you guys were saying, I always live spontaneity. the spur of the moment. And that's a fun way and a cool way to live. It really is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's one adventure after another.
And if you will combine not doing what is absolutely any of us against your principles, if you have a certain ideology and you have to deal with the exact opposite ideology with someone, it ain't worth it. I mean,
well, I'll tell you guys something. That's the problem I have nowadays, and always have had, is it's hard to find people you can connect with. I mean, if the three of us met up anywhere, we would get along perfect because we got the same, we got a lot of things in common. But when you're around people who you don't have anything in common and they can't accept the way you do things, it's tough. Yeah. It's very tough.
Oh, I definitely understand that. And one of the things that about podcasting for both Paul and I is that we could get out what we want. We could put out what we need. We could put out what we don't need, and we can make it clear and put it on record for ourselves to go back. And because sometimes we all need a refresher course when we're not getting what we need because we think that's what we need. And it's all a matter of keeping in touch with your own selves and your own thoughts and what have you.
Now,
well, that's what. Sorry, Paul. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. You're good, Jack.
No, I'll just make it quick. I mean, that's the thing. What's great. That's why I love doing these podcasts. And maybe someday I can do my own show and get people. It's just nice to get your thoughts out, and that's why I play sports all the time. It's just very therapeutic and it's very relaxing. It's like it makes you feel great. I mean, that's why I love to do these things.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great little way to, the term is old, but it's vlogging. And so it's kind of just like a digital diary, if you will. I mean, right now is a day in the life. We're on the 8th of October, 2024. What is happening in each one of our brains is collectively different. I know your mind must be really kind of uber sensitive that you guys have this. Is it Milton? Milton's going to hit. And Milton's going to hit. And, I was just reading something earlier on the AP News that Tampa hasn't been hit directly by a major hurricane since 1921. How's that possible?
Well, let me tell you something. This just come up. I mean, they've been talking about this for 4 days, and we have the MacDill Air Force Base down here, and I don't know if the military can change weather, but maybe they can. I don't know. But the storm has now got off the Tampa area.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Now this is the thing that, say you live in Sarasota, Ralph lives in Bradenton, and I live in Tampa, and we're all hoping that the storm goes somewhere else.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, I hope it don't hit Tampa. I don't want Paul to get hit, but I'd rather Paul to get hit than I get hit. It's just crazy. It's just, I don't know. Now it's going farther south, so it's getting off the Tampa area.
And this is the current, just to let you guys know what we're talking about. There's the current storm path. I'll take the Zig In The Zone logo out. It's right there. But that's what they're looking at there. But kind of crazy. So I know that you're thinking about the storm. We've all got something different on our minds, and it's all important to us. And it's great to be able to express yourself and leave a digital legacy, if you will.
It is cathartic to do all of that. And it's like you're getting it out there. Like, I got a notice that I may lose my job as the Facebook blowhard. But I know too that
You'll never lose that job.
I could always go back to MySpace and be the MySpace blowhard. But being a blowhard gets it all out, and that's what I'm talking about with catharticism.
Right. Well, no, and so I even say it. I tell audiences all the time: make sure you applaud for every comedian. Make sure you laugh. You'd rather have them up here on this stage with a microphone than up on a rooftop with a sniper's rifle.
Good point.
Yeah.
And
and it's give it every day.
I'll tell you what, there must have been 5 failed comedians that I saw on my walk from the bus terminal at the foot of Market to 7th and Market, where the studio is. That's my when I come to the studio, I walk that walk every time.
Right.
And I see a deranged group of human beings who have reached what we're talking about, that they don't have an outlet that's legitimate.
Right.
Or the world has been just driven them to the point where they have to act out the way they're doing. Be it the ones that sell Bible courses on the street.
I saw a guy down here just 4 blocks down, and he was talking about, oh my gosh. He was talking, I'm like, you're in downtown San Francisco, sir. Freedom of speech. I believe in freedom of speech, but you shouldn't be in downtown San Francisco saying that if you're gay or trans or any of these things that you're an abomination and that God and all these things against you. And
he may have been from the religious cults.
He was, but I'm like, you're in the wrong.
Of course he was.
You're preaching in the wrong neighborhood.
But maybe that's the challenge.
Yeah, no, I get it. Wow, that is a challenge. I'm surprised, but the problem is that people in San Francisco are crazy too.
But you could have stopped it. The problem is you're preaching. It doesn't matter where.
You're still preaching.
People don't need to be preached to.
Only in a church.
And at that time, see you in the church when the windows are clean.
There you go.
One of the things about religion, and I noticed this down in Tampa, and I'm sure you guys see it out there, is you go through a shitty neighborhood, and then you'll see these beautiful churches with playgrounds in the back, and everything is locked up. Basketball courts are locked up, the tennis, and they have these beautiful churches, and these people are living in squander, basically.
Right.
Right.
No, I mean, that's the answer to that.
It's hypocritical, yeah.
And quite frankly, if you took the money that you put in the collection box each week, and whatever culture you're going to, and didn't put it in one week, and bought your kid a science book with that money, could change the family dynamics.
There's the investment in your future.
Just the investment, the education that, you know what, you're barking up the wrong tree, and you're raising money and for the cults, and you're giving the permission to the clergymen and women to be perverts at times. And to use the Catholic Church as an example, if you're a priest or a nun, you live high on the hog in every way. You don't really work. You counsel people on Sundays and this, that, and the other thing. You dress to the nines according to your whatever you want to dress like. And you have a certain amount of undue respect just by the nature of the beast from people that look at you and cut you some slack. So I can see the appeal, but I don't see the appeal to families who have been abused generation after generation by driving their kids to church on Sunday. I really don't. And it's not just church, driving them anywhere to an organized idea. I'm Jewish. The Hasidic Jews are as bad for society as any group of folks around. And you could just Google what they go through, what their cult is like, and it's disgusting. It makes me ashamed that I'm a cultural Jew.
I'm sorry, Ralph. One of the things I've noticed, and just throughout my life, some of the people, or most of the people I know who are religious, are some of the most fucked up people you've ever want to meet.
Right. Absolutely.
It's insanity. I mean, what they believe, and I mean, I believe let and live and let live. You can believe, as long as you don't hurt anybody, you can believe what you want. But if you oppose them, oh my God, you're not going to heaven and stuff. Well, I said, I'd rather go to a ball game anyway. So what's the difference? But it's just insanity.
It really is. And it, like I say, it's passed on from generation to generation. And it's not working for society, because if you look back, how many wars, what percentage of wars ever are because quote, my religion is better than your religion.
Yeah.
And I got to show you. How we press for time.
We're looking about that time. We're getting there. So, anything you wanted to go over, Jack? Did we miss anything today?
No, I mean we could.
We
talk
didn't talk much
Yankee
stuff. Baseball. I have one question for you.
Yeah. Yep.
Is Volpe living up to what they thought he'd be? Because I read some rumors that he might be involved in a trade. Is that possible? Is he not progressing? It's his third year.
Well, this is only his second year, Ralph. And last year he hit 209. He hit 209, and this year he was 245. And he had a lot more hits. He seemed to be developing into a better hitter. He's a good shortstop. But the thing is, I think last year he should have been in the minor leagues. So, I mean, the thing with Yankee fans, they want to win the World Series every year. I think the kid's developing. Give him another couple years and see how it turns out. But I like the kid. I think he's a good player, and he's only going to get better.
You mentioned the fans are down on Aaron Judge. How could you be down on a guy like that?
Well, here's my worthless philosophy. I think nowadays, people don't play as much baseball, and they can't go to the games. And the people who go to the games now are usually the ones who have a lot of money, and they don't know how tough the game is. So they watch something and say, oh, this guy sucks. He ain't any good. He can't hit in the playoffs. Aaron Judge is an incredible talent. I mean, he's just a class act, and he struggled a little the first two games, but who hasn't struggled out?
So fans are down on him because he struggled for two games. Is that what we're coming to as a society? For Christ's sake,
Ralph, you ought to. I'm on some of these Yankee things, on Facebook, and you ought to hear the fans blast these players after they lose a game. It's like, don't they realize how tough this is?
I'm one of those like you who've experienced the minor leagues, watching minor league guys. Do you know how many minor leaguers it takes to become eventually major leaguers, and the competition And to be a college player, let alone a minor league, to get the chance to play in minor, you have to be terrific. And what with the competition from different countries now, uh, Panama, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican, and Haiti, and what have you. My God, to be critical in this day and age of what you're seeing on a professional level in any sport nowadays, the talent that's out there, I'm going to say to the fans, cut these players some frickin' slack. That's
because they never played the game. They never played sports.
That's a good reason. But look at the numbers. How many minor leaguers there are that don't make it to the majors, and you know why I'll tell you why. It just occurred to me why fans are so frustrated. The salaries are outrageous. Now the owners can afford it, so it's nothing to me if they pay these guys. But fans that look at a game where if a guy is called up to the majors, plays in one game, he gets a lifetime worth of health benefit at it.
Yep.
At the Players Association cost. Now, is that too much for too little before we can go about respecting the players? I'm just playing devil's advocate to all of this. But then again, how many of them get called up? How many players get to be called up? So you absolutely have the right idea. They've never played the game. Even on the sandlots, even in the schoolyard, a lot of them. Good point.
And another thing, Ralph, when somebody is talented at something, I don't care if it's a musician or a singer or a comedian or what, but an athlete, when somebody does something really well, they make it look easy. And when somebody watches it that doesn't understand it, they think, oh, well, anybody can do that. Because look how easy it is.
Good point. Good point. And another thing, there are players just that don't hustle. That and at this level, there is no excuse for not hustling. We were gonna talk about Yogi Berra on this segment, and I'm reading. I read all I can these days about Yogi and his time, and I was reading about how Joe DiMaggio would look at a player in the clubhouse, and Hank Bauer would, and a player, and Yogi qualified at one time. He didn't want to play double headers, and he had to get the Yankee regiment from Joe DiMaggio and Hank Bauer that you're messing with our money at this time if you don't hustle, if you don't run things out, if you don't want to play 2 games when you're 20 years old, you can't play a doubleheader. So the Yankee thing was Casey's time from 47 to 1960 was one year after another, and the new players would take the advice of the old players. And that was a terrific time. And I know deep down in your heart that you most respect those years that Casey managed.
Well, they were in the World Series every year except 54 and 59.
Right.
And
go ahead.
No, it was just, and the good thing is, Ralph, they kept the nucleus. They always had Yogi, they had Mickey, and they had Gil McDougal, who was just a terrific ball player. And, Eddie Lopat, Allie Reynolds, Vic Rashi, Hank Bauer, Gene Woodling. I mean, Andy Carey. It was just, phenomenal. Jerry Coleman. You could go on and on. I mean, they just had so many terrific ball players.
I'm going to get to my last point, and then we have to close. Here we go. Everybody thinks that the tradition went in Casey's time from Joe DiMaggio, and then Mickey Mantle became the big star. It was Yogi that was carrying them, who got the torch from Joe DiMaggio and then passed it on to Mickey Mantle. So even though we didn't get a lot of time to talk about Yogi, which we will in future shows, because it's the most fascinating character in baseball. Some of the most iconic photos were of him jumping in to Don Larson's arms. And the magic, the question of Jackie Robinson sliding, was he in or out? So we'll talk about it. We got to close. Jack, would you keep coming back? I ask you that in hopes that you will say yes, because by saying yes means that you're enjoying your time here. And
Ralph, anytime. And I mean, thanks for putting up with me and thank you, Paul. I mean, I know I might have screwed up here on my end.
No. I want to say something about technology. It is so incredible, because I watch, Paul does the technical work, and I watch what goes on in producing with the internet, with Facebook, with YouTube, getting it all connected, with glitches on the computers, with glitches when you're communicating just to log on. I want to, if I could give it one of these, and I don't know if this is on camera.
Right.
Yeah. Pauly, no shit. It's a tremendous thing that you're doing, and you hanging in there with us today. And
we were going to get you one way or another. We were going to capture your interview, even if it was with smoke signals. Okay. We were going to get it done.
Did we show any picture on the interviews with him?
No, we've all been on voice.
Oh, okay.
And so it's all been voice. We've done some pictures here and there. I did some stuff about when you guys were talking about for the U.S. Open.
Okay.
Forest Hills, was it? Did some stuff about Forest Hills. I put some pictures of Forest Hills up. When we were talking about Hurricane Milton, I popped up the hurricane map. So yeah, a little bit of interactive, but
I had an Uncle Milton. He changed his name. His middle name was David. He went from Milton at an early age to David, and he was my mother's brother, first brother, and he was a great guy. God rest his soul, if you will. But I had to interject that because I know I'm looking at the time that you laid out there that we got to get off. So thank you, Jack. Next time we'll have your picture up.
And I'll troubleshoot your camera situation with you, and that'll be good.
And we'll try to get to your you have a YouTube thing that we could get some film of on you playing.
Just get my name, what's my name? Jack DrGraw, and it'll have all those basketball videos, and so
we'll put some of those up on the podcast. How about that?
That's great. That's great.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for making it a great show.
Can you give me the title of one of your YouTube videos?
One of them is Amazing 3-Point Shooters, and the other one is Jack DrGraw makes 50 foul shots in a row, and Jack DrGraw does this, and Jack DrGraw thinks he's hot shit, and he isn't, but whatever. So, you know, it's all on, it's all
All right.
on YouTube.
So we'll look it up, and I think I'm going to get 50 foul shots in a row. We'll see what happens.
You have
The
all the
background in that
makings.
video is beautiful.
I want to add one more thing. Jack, you have all the makings of someone who would love doing his own podcast,
Right.
with no association to mine, and working with Paul the way I do. It'd be easier for Paul to work for you than it has been for me, because I am a mental midget dinosaur when it comes to technology. So,
well, let's go out with Jack shooting a little bit of b-ball. For myself, the Zig Man, and Jack DrGraw. We're out, guys. We'll see you next week on Zig in the Zone. Thanks, Jack.
Thanks again, Jack.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's see if he can pull it off in real time. Here we go.
Oh, wow. Oh, see what I mean about Pauly?
I'm telling you.
No, I'm telling you, I'm very serious.
Wow, are we off the air now?
No, we're still on.
We're still
I'll
on.
be
We're showing your video.
You're showing your video of you sinking them in.
Pauly got it up.
Here we go. All right,
well,
you guys.
Till
next week.
You know what I like about your release? It's like Oscar Robinson, right?
You got the Oscar Robinson release on it.
Pauly,
are you still there, Jack?
Jack?
Yes.
He says you look like.
Did you get anything from Oscar Robinson on that release?
Oh, he was terrific, Oscar.
But can you see he put his arms way back?
And then way forward. Yeah, almost like your throw is almost like his.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next week on In the Zone.
There you go. Pauly, a great job of producing. You got us through another day.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you guys next week.